has blocked the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, issuing a unanimous decision with 2 justices abstaining. The ruling is immediately executory. In a strong wording, the court asserted that the end does not justify the means and stressed that it is not the court's rule or role to favor any political outcome. The court also ruled that no new impeachment complaint may be filed until after February 6, 2026. This landmark ruling reinforces judicial independence and reaffirms the principle of law over political motives. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Ross Feingold. He's a political analyst. Thank you, Ross, for staying with us. Now, how significant is this news given that Duterte's previous political influence and connections?
This is a huge win for Vice President Sara Duterte. She was facing, she had been impeached and was facing a trial in the Philippine Senate, which could result in her removal from office. And now she gets to continue in office for the remainder of their term. Their term goes to 2028, unless the House tries to impeach her again after a year, which is certainly possible. But at least in the interim, it's a huge legal and political victory for Sara Duterte. And really, we shouldn't underestimate the bad blood that now exists between Vice President Sara Duterte and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., and also between their 2 camps, keeping in mind that there's national level politicians as well as local level politicians who are lining up to support one or the other, and they're both certainly very influential among their supporters. So the battle between the 2 of them looks set to continue for the next few years. Keeping in mind something, this is really important. In the Philippines, the president can only serve 1 term. So when Duterte and Marcos made a deal for her to run as the vice presidential candidate in 2022, the assumption always was that Marcos would endorse her in 2028. That's obviously not going to happen because they've had the falling out. But the important thing to keep in mind here is how much of this is really about the 2028 presidential election.
Yes, we'll keep an eye out on that. And Ross, now how could this ruling impact future political dynamics and the relationship between the judiciary, executive branches and the Philippines?
It's certainly going to result in some criticism from Marcos supporters in the Philippine Congress, in the House and the Senate. It'll be interesting to see if President Marcos directly criticizes the Supreme Court decision. I'd be surprised if he did, because he needs to maintain that image that the president is not interfering in the court. So if he does criticize the courts too directly or in strong language, there's the risk that he'll face accusations that he's trying to manipulate the judiciary. So he has to be very careful about that. But again, Marcos supporters and those who brought the impeachment in the House were eager to bring a trial in the Senate, I think those politicians, we're going to be hearing a lot from them in the coming days, and they're going to be very critical of the judiciary.
Yes, we'll keep an eye out on that. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Ross Feingold, he's a political analyst, joined us live